News. Breaking news, breaking news. JLR investigate. Ladies and gentlemen, we received our YouTube plaque. 100,000 subs. A year later, after we received 100,000 subs, we finally get our YouTube plaque. So I just wanted to start out by saying thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for the support on JLR Investigates. You know, we didn't even know how to get this, right? And probably about 2 weeks ago or so, I'm like, hey, aren't we supposed to get Magnolia? Aren't we supposed to get a YouTube plaque? We never got, and then we looked into the YouTube studio and we're like, hey, you have to apply yourself. This is like a year after the fact. We're now over 300,000 subs. It took us 1 year on this channel to get to 100,000 subs. We started posting videos August of 2022. August of 2022, well, actually a year, 13 months to get 1 million subs. August of 2022, we started posting on this channel. 1 year later, around Danilo Cavalcante, September of 2023, we crossed over 100,000 subs. This is a really, really cool plaque. This is cool. It feels good. It's nice. Has this nice texture to it. Silver. Waiting for the million one. We will get very, very soon. Hopefully in a year or two, we'll get the million. It has a little reflection here. This is pretty cool. This is very inspiring. I'm actually going to go put this over there and hang it up. Something to be grateful for. An achievement. So we got like 100,000 subs within a year of this channel. And then it took us only 8 months. It took us only 8 months to get to 200,000 subs. So actually you grow quicker if you put in the work. We do a lot of boots on the ground on JLR Investigates all over the place, all over the country. Then we got another 100,000 within 4 months after getting 200,000. So the growth has gone boom, 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 boom. The growth has gone higher and higher and higher. But let me put this here because I got somebody at my door doing yard work. So I will be right back. Stay with me. You can look at the plaque. Give me a couple seconds. Give me a couple seconds. Give me a couple seconds. All right, folks. JLR Investigates. Had somebody at my door that's doing a lot of yard work and cleaning up my yard. So, yeah, I'm very grateful for the plaque. Thank you, YouTube. Thank you, everyone, for the support and watching the channel. On to 1 million. On to 1 million subscribers. We'll get there one day, hopefully. Now let's go back to regular scheduled programming, folks. Dun, 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 Delphi Disaster. That's the title of this video. It's day 7 and day 8. Day 7 was yesterday. Day 8 is complete in the Delphi Richard Allen murder case. And a lot of things is going on in this case. I'm going to get Magnolia in the chat because Magnolia is on it. She is following a lot of the people that are inside there. Magnolia has a lot to say. It seems like this case is falling apart before our very eyes. And they had a bullet expert on for most of the day yesterday. And this bullet expert, it seems like, I don't know if the bullet expert was still there this morning. We'll get Magnolia to clarify that. But it doesn't seem like the state was able to prove beyond a reasonable doubt, in my mind, about this bullet. And that was the next piece of evidence. Because first it went bridge guy. And then it went to the bullet phase. And I think the bullet phase is practically over at this point, right? And it doesn't seem like they got, hey, it's 100% Richard Allen's bullet to his gun. Doesn't seem like that, folks. And this seems like this is a big, big problem in this case. Again, I don't know if Richard Allen is guilty or innocent. I want to think he's guilty. I want to think the state, have confidence in the state of getting the right guy. But man, you got to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. And thus far, I haven't seen any smoking gun to that bullet. I don't know. Maybe the state is trying their best. or this is all they got, or they're going to keep what they have, the most damaging evidence in their arsenal, and then pow, 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 bring it out soon. But thus far, I don't see like pow, pow, pow. I see the state shooting blanks, like BB blanks. Nothing of nothing. What in the world is going on here in Delphi, Indiana? And I so want to go back there, so want to go back there, especially once the prosecution rests their side. I want to hear the defense side, because if they rest, and, you know, the last really hope I see the state having, and maybe possibly convincing the jurors, are these confessions after being incarcerated, after being arrested, while incarcerated, solitary confinement. That's the only thing I see really left, because all this other stuff that has been presented seems like it's a big mess. Our take is, and what we've seen to listen to about this case with the bullet expert, it just was long, dragged out, and people were just like, oh, you know, it was confusing. It wasn't like the jurors were like, oh, yeah, okay, they got him. They got Richard Allen. It's just confusing. And it's a big problem. This is a big problem. And I'm not saying corruption's going on here. I'm just saying maybe the state jumped the gun by arresting Richard Allen after they got that quick tip, right? Or they go over the tip from the volunteer that opens up the old case files and then just fast forward really quick, and just maybe they just wanted to rush and get a guy. It's not over yet, though, folks. The trial's not over yet. But thus far, I can't see a jury convicting this guy based off, we're not there. We're not there. We're going by what the, you know, other people are saying that are there. We were outside and got some take of some people that come outside, and then we subsequently are listening to people online that are in that trial. But man, I can't see how they can convict this guy at this point. Let's get Magnolia Investigates in the chat. Richard Allen, Delphi murder trial. She's coming on right now, folks. Hello, Magnolia. Ring-a-ling-a-ling. Ring-a-ling-a-ling.
Hello, Magnolia.
Ooh, I echo. How are you, Magnolia?
Hi there.
Welcome aboard. Welcome aboard.
Okay.
Oh, by the way, folks, I just want to clarify something here. Magnolia is in the vicinity here. We just choose to do our live streams this way by getting her on the phone and whatnot, because some people are like, "Where's Magnolia? Magnolia is around." And
I'm in my office.
She's in her office. And she got an office with studio and everything like that. So we like doing our lives this way. Sometimes we jump on together, StreamYards. Other times we do the phone conversation. I just wanted to clarify that. People said in the bathroom. Magnolia, you in the bathroom?
Not this time.
Not this time. Have you ever done a live stream in the bathroom, Magnolia?
I plead the fifth.
Okay, there you go. There you go.
No, I'm just kidding.
There you go. Okay, so Magnolia, day 7 and 8, right? 7 was yesterday, day 8. The way they're describing it is today was day 8, right?
Yes. Yeah, it's a little confusing. So day 1 was last Friday, and then 5 more days was day 7. So I guess, yeah, we're on day 8 now.
Complete. Half day, they do the half day Saturdays, half days. You know, otherwise we would have came on earlier today about yesterday, but we decided just to wait to, like, you know, for the court to be over today at noon, and then, you know, listen to what other people are saying, see the tweets, and put our analysis together. And then we got some analysis going on here in Magnolia. What's going on? Latest. Talk to us.
Yeah, well, I mean, I mentioned this before, but, you know, it's a lot of work to keep up with this trial. I think everyone understands that. So it really takes a lot, because we see different people doing their play-by-play reports, you know, and some people mention certain things and other people mention other things. So you really have to read a lot. So we decided, you know, last night I went through everything that happened yesterday, but then this morning they were in court from 9 to 12. Actually, I think they got out a little bit early today, around 11:30.
Wow. Okay.
So we kind of, you know, wanted to review everything that happened today as well. Today was quite a doozy, but we can start with yesterday. So it's interesting because yesterday they only had one witness the whole day. And, normally throughout each day we've seen many witnesses come up, but yesterday there was only one witness the whole day, and it was Melissa Oberg. And she is the one who did the testing on the unspent bullet. So she went through, let's see, I think Bob Siegel had the best recap on yesterday, one of the best. But he just described that, he described it kind of comical. He said it was one witness all day long. He said, imagine going back to high school science class for a 7-hour lecture, and you'll begin to grasp what it was like in the courtroom today. He said it was very cumbersome. The testimony all day long was like very technical. She started out by going over in detail what's involved in the tool mark analysis and, how that process plays out, how they do the testing on these bullets, fired, unfired bullets, how they cycle through the weapon. So she went through a lot of that in great detail, apparently. And then she took, at one point, Bob said that she actually put on gloves and she took out Richard Allen's six-hour pistol from the evidence box, and she loaded a dummy round in it and cycled it through the gun so that the jury could see what that looks like. So if you put the bullet, you put the bullet in there, and then you can pull back on the slide and eject the bullet. So she demonstrated that for the jury. She apparently had a lot of pictures, PowerPoint presentations. Sounds like it was a full-blown lecture on tool marking analysis. So she said that she fired four bullets from Allen's gun in her lab, and analysis from the test bullets showed that they have markings that closely match markings on the unfired bullet casing found at the Delphi murder scene. She concluded, she said in her subjective opinion, she explained this is very subjective, but she said in her opinion, the bullet cartridge did cycle through Richard Allen's gun. But Bob Siegel said she didn't say that. She didn't specifically say that. What she said was, I identified 314 as having cycled cartridge item 16. So he's saying that he felt like she confused the jury by speaking in terms of the exhibit numbers as opposed to, just saying the gun, Richard Allen's bullet. So he felt like that may have been a missed opportunity for the state to make that clear to the jury. But then, let's see what else. Yeah, so I think they tried to explain the exhibit numbers and what was what. But I guess the way that she presented all the information was kind of confusing, and this reporter felt like it could have been done better. Now,
I'm going to show a picture of her while you're talking. Go ahead. This is the witness.
I sent you a photo. I believe that was. Well, I think you got that online. There's a photo I sent you of her from yesterday outside of court. I'll resend it.
Yeah, resend it. I'll get the outside the court photo, and then we'll continue to chit-chat. Melissa.
Let's see, what else did she say?
Melissa. Outside the Carroll County Courthouse yesterday.
Mm-hmm. So, during the cross-examination, though, so just to recap, so she basically went through the whole science, and she said, in her opinion, the bullet that was found at the crime scene could have been cycled through Richard Allen's gun. And Brad Rossi did the cross-exam on her, And he basically tried to just, attack the credibility of her testimony. He pointed out the fact that tool mark examination is controversial science. A lot of people consider it junk science. Oberg admitted that it is subjective, and he was skeptical. He said he was skeptical because the crime scene casing was not fired, and the test bullets were. So she was comparing fired bullets with an unfired bullet and saying it's a match, and he's saying that's like comparing apples to oranges. Now, at the end of her cross-examination, Brad Rossi asked her, is it possible that the bullet could have cycled through someone else's gun? And she said, yes, that's possible. So they spent the whole entire day on this bullet, only for her to, at the very end, to admit that it's possible it came from another gun. It can't be ruled out. That's the problem. It can't be ruled out that it may have come from, what's the guy's name? Brad Weber, the neighbor.
Holder, or Logan, anybody.
Ron Logan. They never even tested any of Ron Logan's guns, as far as I know. But so that's how yesterday went. They spent the entire day on that bullet, and only for it to, the conclusion was, this is her opinion. She admitted this is her subjective opinion. And I think that it took a lot. Like I said, she used 4 different bullets before she finally got one that she felt matched closely enough. And they were like, good enough, It's his bullet, So
but nothing that your take on the people that have been in the court, nothing to directly link to Allen, like, hey, this is the smoking gun bullet. It's his.
No, still not yet. No.
Well, not yet. Probably, like, what else can happen? Like, what else can they do in reference to the bullet stuff to, say it's out?
The bullet, I don't know if the bullet's going to come up very much again or not, because remember, the defense was denied their gun expert to testify. So they're not allowed to let their gun expert take the stand. So that may be the last that we heard of the bullet, but it's not surprising. I think we expected this, just because if you pay attention and you read enough about tool markings on unspent bullets, the inevitable conclusion of that was going to be her opinion, and that it's possible it could have come from another gun. So that's how that went.
So 7 hours of just complete nonsense.
Well, it's it's a piece of evidence. It's their only piece of physical evidence at all. So, I mean, I can't blame them for spending a lot of time with that particular witness and, taking a whole day for it, because we've been saying that. We've been saying the bullet is their only physical evidence, and it was really important to their case.
My goodness. And, the take that, and I've been looking around a little bit on Twitter, too, for the people that have been in there. Psychic Mara, thank you. Thank you for the support. People are just like, it's nothing of nothing. Like, the state hasn't proven nothing. Mm-hmm. And we're almost hearing this by almost like journalists. They're kind of just saying it, I don't know the way you follow what I mean? Usually when there's something really smoking gun on somebody, the media pounces on that and uses that to kind of go at the defendant, and they're not doing that.
Yeah.
They haven't done it.
Well, what we're seeing is a little bit of a turning of the tide. I feel like most of the media going into this trial believed that Richard Allen was probably guilty, and they were expecting it to be proven during the trial. I think a lot of people felt that way, and it's just, day after day after day. Now we've had 8 days of testimony, and everyone's kind of looking around like, where's the evidence here? Now today was quite a doozy.
So what happened today?
So they were supposed to, apparently yesterday at the end of the day, Nick McClelland, the prosecutor, said that he had planned to bring a DNA expert on the stand today. So that's what they were expecting this morning. But instead, they ended up pulling back Jerry Holman. The lead investigator on the Richard Allen case. He also testified last week sometime, but they brought him back up yesterday, and I'm actually trying to figure out why they would bring him back up. But basically, he is the one who did the interrogation of Richard Allen on October 26, 2022. And that was the day that Richard Allen and his wife Kathy had called up to the police station asking if they could come pick up their vehicle, because the search warrant had been executed like several days before that, and the vehicles had been seized, and they needed their vehicle back. And so they called up and they were like, "Can we come get it?" And they were like, "Sure, you can come get it." And so they went down there. Kathy was kept in the lobby. Jerry Holman met Richard Allen and said, "Hey, before we give you the truck back or the car or whatever, I just have a few things I need your help clearing up." And so he took him into an interrogation room. And this interrogation, I think, is really key in this case. It's interesting because the defense actually filed a motion to suppress this particular interrogation back in April because I'm sure no one will be shocked to hear this. Part of that interview is missing. The beginning of that interview is missing. So the video of the interview picks up while the interrogation is already going on. And there's no evidence that Holman said anything to him about his Miranda rights. And so the defense wanted that interrogation thrown out. Of course, Fran Gull denied it. And it was brought up in court today. So they started going over that interview. And we know about the interview because that motion was filed in the spring. And when it was filed, they included excerpts of the transcript of what was said by Jerry Holman and Richard Allen. And so I read all that about 6 months ago. I made a couple posts about it, actually. And so the issue with that interview, the problem that Jerry Holman is facing right now, he lied the entire time in that interview. He lied
to Richard
about everything. Yes. So, and a lot of people are like, well, it's okay. The police can lie to suspects. They do it all the time. It's part of their techniques, which is true. That is very true. You can kind of bluff your way through an interview as a police officer to try to get them to admit to something. So that happens all the time, and it's not unusual. In this case, though, what I think is unusual is that the things he lied about are the very specific things that we are now watching fall apart in court. For example, he told Richard Allen that day, he said, "I have all these experts and all these witnesses and all these people say that you're the guy on this video. All the experts are saying that's your voice. You're the one that said down the hill. Everyone agrees it's you." That's not true. That's never been true.
He looks like a bulldog. Like, he looks like a type that would be like, Richard Allen would be sitting in the chair and he'd be over on top of him and saying, "All these witnesses said you did it, Allen. They told me, they know you did it, Allen. I didn't do nothing. Yes, you did. The witnesses put you there."
Yeah. Actually, I'm going to go through this because I tweeted this just a little bit ago. Let me find my tweet. I'm going to post it in the chat so people can follow along, because I have several screenshots that I posted of the specific things that they brought up in this motion, because it's just remarkable. Because by the way, he admitted today on the stand that he lied. He admitted He admitted that he lied to Richard Allen.
But because it's been, I mean, listen, folks, we've heard from all those witnesses that were testifying for the prosecution days ago, and none of them can point Allen.
Right. So no one has been able to identify Richard Allen, except Richard Allen himself, who self-reported that he was on the trail that day. So in the motion, they listed out several lies that Jerry Holman said. So one thing he said, he told Rick Allen, they call him Rick, by the way, the defense, they call him Rick Allen. So I'm going to refer to him as Rick Allen in this segment. So Jerry Holman told Rick Allen that we have experts that say that's you on the bridge and that's your voice on the video. And the defense points out there is evidence that supports this statement. Again, Holman told Rick Allen that experts are saying that's you on the video. Experts are saying that you said down the hill. There is no evidence to support that statement. Holman tells Rick that witnesses saw a gun in his.
Where? You cut off, Magnolia.
There is no evidence
you cut
that
off.
anyone
You
claims.
cut off. Time out. You cut off.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Cut off. Something about a gun. Talk about that.
Yeah. So Holman tells Rick that witnesses saw a gun in his pocket. There is no evidence that anyone claims to have seen a gun in Rick's pocket. This was a complete lie. Holman said, I'm not lying to you about anything. Everything I'm telling you is a fact. The expert said that you said go down the hill. And he again said at another point in the tape, I'm not lying to you. That's unethical. Even though he had been lying. Let's see what else. He said, Jerry Holman told Rick Allen, the prosecutor and the other investigators, they want to see you locked up and throw away the key. Jerry Holman barked at Rick Allen in what was supposed to be an exploratory interview. If you don't tell me, you're going down for this. Jerry Holman told Rick Allen, do you realize the death penalty is on the table for this? That's another thing that's not true. At various times, Jerry Holman yelled at Rick Allen, including using profanity-laced language while accusing Rick Allen of the murders. Rick Allen asked Holman to stop the interview. Rick said, I'm done, early into the interrogation, but Holman continued his interrogation. The state police never turned over the vehicle to Kathy Allen after Rick Allen was arrested. Returning the vehicle to Rick and Kathy was merely a subterfuge to get Rick to the police station. And then I tweeted a couple of screenshots of the transcript. Jerry Holman says to Rick Allen, the evidence clearly indicates you are involved in this. Rick says no. Jerry says, it effing does. Rick says, it doesn't. I'm telling you that there is no way that a bullet from my gun was used in these murders. Jerry said, and I'm telling you that we had this effing round on February 14th, 2017, and it's been secured in an effing laboratory, and we've tested other guns. And Rick said, you could have taken it from somewhere else then, because it's not possible. And Jerry says, I did not take it from somewhere else. It was logged in. It was taken. It was photographed. That's a lie, too. We now know the bullet was not photographed. You think we effing took her around and threw it down by the dead girl's foot? This ain't effing TV. This is realistic. Rick says, I'm telling you, I can't explain something that Jerry says, I'm telling you that effing analysts explain it. You can't get past this. And then they just keep going back and forth, and Jerry makes these snide comments to him. He says, my round out of my gun wasn't 6 inches away from a dead girl. And Rick says, mine either. And then Rick at one point, so he said that today on the stand, he testified that Rick denied the accusations between 20 and 25 times during that interview. And he said after about 20 or 25 times, then he started getting agitated, which I think is this section here. Rick Allen, you're going to pay for what you've done to my wife. You want to F with me, but you leave my wife out of this. Leave me out of this. Jerry says, no, you're involved in this. Your effing round is there, Rick. Rick says, no, it's not. Jerry says, you're guilty of something. You're guilty and I know it. And I'm going to effing prove it.
Wow.
And then he arrested Richard Allen.
So you're saying that Allen denied at that time 20 to 25 times, denied everything.
Vehemently, yes.
Only to be arrested. And then 6 months later, after being incarcerated in solitary confinement, these so-called 60 different confessions come out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. You know, usually when a defendant, you know, a lot of times the confessions are what you give to the law enforcement, the statements you give to law enforcement prior to being arrested or any interrogation is usually that buries people, right? And most people talk. They talk. They're birds. They talk. And they incriminate themselves some way to either get the probable cause for the arrest or they incriminate themselves. And, you know, but in Richard Allen's case, he didn't even admit to nothing. But they arrested him anyway. But a lot of times people that admit and say stuff to the police, not only do the police have that's going to be used against them at trial, but then later on, while they're incarcerated, after they confess to the police or incriminate themselves, then they continue to talk to other inmates. So it's extra incentive, you know? It's extra confessions. It's extra. You talk to this inmate, jailhouse informant says he confessed. So now you have a police confession. Now you have a jailhouse confession. But in this particular case with Richard Allen in Delphi, you got a guy that totally denied everything to the police. He never admitted it to the police at all. They arrest him. He gets transferred all around these prisons until he's in a maximum security prison. And then a psychologist is testifying around the same time his mental health deteriorates and goes downhill very, very quickly. Probably because of solitary confinement, maybe culture shock, maybe a combination of both and whatever else, related or unrelated to some solitary confinement. And then these confessions start coming out. So now they're going to use these so-called confessions against him.
Yeah.
Which a lot of the confessions say nothing of nothing really, well, according to McClelland, only the killer would know.
Yeah, we don't know the full scope of the confessions. That'll come up next week. But yeah, he was using these, he calls it an interrogation technique. I call it flat out lying about evidence you don't have. I mean, it's one thing to bluff, but the way that he did this to me, it just seems like he's just saying something. He's just saying these things because he knows that it's false. He knows that these witnesses can't ID Richard Allen. He knows that. By that point, he would know that. Although he used all that for his probable cause affidavit for the search warrant. But he knows those witnesses can't ID Richard Allen. He knows the bullet marking test is subjective, and he knows the bullet can't be ruled out as coming from another gun. He knows all those things at that point. So he knows that the case they have is very, very weak. So he goes in there to the interrogation and he pretends like this is rock solid evidence that we have against you, because he thinks by saying that it will prompt Richard Allen to, break down and confess. Because if he's thinking like, oh, well, they got me red-handed, that maybe that would make him confess. But even with all the bluffing and the flat-out lies, Richard Allen still denied over and over and over and over. And he said that at one point, after things got heated, things started getting escalated, he said Holman said to Richard Allen, or Holman testified today, I told him that I thought he did it. He said, take all your evidence then and just arrest me. And that's what they did. He spoke to the other investigators and they took him into custody that day, right after that interview. So really, Andrew Baldwin.
So really, they had their mind up that they were arresting him. They were just going to try to squeeze a confession out of him. by lying to him and bullying him. I would say bullying, right? I would say if you're strong arming somebody in a room trying to get a confession out of them, I would say that's bullying, wouldn't you?
Well, but Holman testified today that, or he claims that he didn't intend to arrest Richard Allen that day initially. That's what he said, but that's what ended up happening. So he was also examined by Andrew Baldwin, and he basically grilled Holman about his claim that he had talked to Allen about his Miranda rights, but you just can't see it because
there's no evidence.
That piece of the video is missing. So Baldwin was like, "So we just have to take your word for it." And Baldwin also questioned Holman about lying to Allen, saying the death penalty was on the table, and asking him why he was dragging his family through everything, using these things to get a confession out of him. Let's see.
Well, I mean, you're talking about two children that died on a trail. Most high-profile case in Carroll County history. An unsolved case. Lots of pressure to solve it.
Yeah.
And by all means necessary, you would say, to try to shake a confession out of who you think did it. It seems like... I'm not saying they maybe in their mind, generally in their mind, they thought Richard Allen was the guy and we're going to squeeze a confession out of him. Or could it be we're just going to pin the guy? Or are they trying to use some of the stuff, whatever they had, and their suspicion to feel like Allen's the guy, we need that confession, go in there, Holman, get him in there, and do what you got to do by all means necessary. Even if you have to, bully him a little bit and, lean over him a little bit and be like an authority over him and get that confession out of him.
Yeah.
Don't worry, Roger, I got this. And maybe he was frustrated. He couldn't get nothing out of Allen.
Yeah, it just, what I said in my tweet, this was a case of arrest now, find the evidence later. That's exactly what happened here. They thought that, and they hoped, actually, he admitted that they were hoping to find more evidence after the arrest. That's what they thought would happen. They would make the arrest, and then they would find the evidence. But the problem is they never did. They never found any other evidence against him. So now, here we are at trial, relying on his made-up evidence.
So Holman didn't get nothing out of him.
No, but what's interesting is they're going to play that interrogation video next week, and I think that's great because this is probably one of the only motions from the defense that I'm glad Fran Gull did not deny, because I understand why they asked for it to be suppressed, because there's no evidence that he was Mirandized before that interview. So, that's like a common thing. If you feel like your client was not read his rights, a lot of defense attorneys are going to ask for those things to be thrown out. So I understand why they asked for it to be thrown out, but I'm glad it wasn't thrown out because it really reveals a lot about how the investigation was handled, and especially that interrogation, which he sat there and made it sound as if all this evidence was just ironclad, rock solid, undeniable. It's you're the one. And now here we are. All of those things are coming back to haunt them.
Okay, so Magnolia, I got a question for you. Okay, so he described this interview as a what type of interview?
It was supposed to be an exploratory interview. Richard Allen believed that he was going in there to help them solve the case.
But what were they classifying the interview as?
Well, he characterized it that way. When Richard and his wife came to the police station, he said, "Hey, we'll let you pick up your vehicle, but I have a couple things I need your help to clear up first."
A little sneaky way to get people in. We remember following Allison Chow, and they told the dad, "Hey, come on down. You can see your daughter." And
Yeah.
then boom, put you in a room and then just, grill you with questions. You're under arrest.
Yeah.
It's like kind of like a bait and switch. But here's what I want to know though. Here's what I want to know. I know Miranda rights. Not a lawyer here, and I'm sure some lawyers can chime in on this, but I know if you're already incarcerated and you have any contact with law enforcement, they got to read your Miranda rights. But what about just by asking questions if they're not necessarily going to arrest you? Do they have to read you your Miranda rights?
Well, what they said was
if you're a free person.
Yeah, so what they're saying, so the way that they've explained it in this case is Richard Allen had done an interview previously on October 13th with Mullins and another detective. There were two detectives that he talked to that day. After the tip was found a couple of weeks before, and they were starting to look at Richard Allen, and they were wanting to get like a search warrant or whatever. He talked to two detectives on October 13th. He was read his rights, or he was advised of his rights to an attorney and different things like that during that meeting. So
Okay.
Holman says that would have applied also to the interview
Subsequent hearing.
The station on the 26th. And he claims at the beginning of the interview that he reminded Richard Allen that he had been read his rights by the other detectives. The problem is he can't prove that because for some reason that interview's missing.
I get it.
The
Okay.
beginning is missing. Oh,
but does that apply? Like, even if he didn't remind him of the second interview, if he read him the Miranda rights on the first interview, does that apply to subsequent interviews? If he waives it at the time and says, yeah, I'll talk, and then he goes and talks and then comes back another time, which he did in this particular case here, does that apply? Even like, does he have to remind him again or was that just a courtesy? Does he have to legally do that or not?
Well, that's the explanation from the state. They're saying that he was read his rights initially and that it should apply to the subsequent interview. But anyway, that whole request was denied by Fran Gull. I'm glad now because this guy right now, he's in the middle of being exposed.
Holman.
It started today. It's going to continue next week whenever that interview gets played.
Uh-oh, folks. So we got to stay tuned for that. But yeah, that's interesting. But it's also a reminder, folks, any one of us, anyone out there, if law enforcement is bringing you in and telling you got to come in, I would strongly advise everyone not to talk. No matter if you think you can help or not, I wouldn't talk. I just would say, give me a lawyer, like no matter what the situation. If they're calling you up basically and telling you to come in for some questioning, I wouldn't go in without a lawyer.
Yeah, no.
I wouldn't talk no matter because they can twist your words up. They can coerce you into waiving your Miranda rights and say whatever and say you did and anything and everything can be used against you. Do not talk.
And they can lie.
And they can lie to you.
They can say whatever they want.
They're allowed to. Morally, it's not right, but the law enforcement can. It's legal for us to lie to law enforcement. Federal, it's 18 U.S.C. 1001, lying to federal agents. Every state has a statute regarding lying to law enforcement, but they can lie to us.
Yeah.
They can lie to us all the day in order to solve a case. They lie to us and tell us everything. They could say your mom said you did it. You understand me? And we have your mom. And then, I've read cases like this. Literally, they'll have a defendant in the room and they're like, your own mom said you did it. And she's in the other room and she's getting arrested. So you better tell out. You better tell, pal. You better tell what you did right now. Or we're going to have your mom booked in the county jail right now. She's in the other room. Things like that. They really do things like that. It's crazy.
Yeah, but they can. And they do. But yeah, when he mentioned that about that portion of the video being missing, of course the defense was like, that's a lot of things that are missing in this case. You have a lot of videos missing in this case, don't you? And Holman said, well, we had a lot of technical difficulties. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. So Holman's not done. Holman's not off the hot seat yet then.
Well, the defense asked Fran Gull if the interrogation video could be played in court, and she agreed to that. So they're saying it'll be played sometime next week.
That's definitely worth waiting in line at 8 p.m. at night to go in there the next day for. Don't you agree?
Yeah.
Right? Some of these things where you know it's coming, because really we haven't known in this trial who's coming each day. They don't tell you beforehand.
Well, yeah, I don't know what day it's going to be done. Just that
Monday.
She agreed to it, and it would be sometime next week.
So, so the defense, did they finish crossing him? Like, was he excused?
I haven't even told y'all the worst part.
Ooh, tell us the worst part. Let's go, Magnolia. Magnolia's on this. I'm telling you, folks, Magnolia.
So Luke, Curious Luke, on Twitter, I think sometimes he's in our chat too. He posted today when Holman was asked, "Why didn't you DNA test the hair found in Abby's hand?" Holman replied, "We just assumed family members,
What?
so didn't bother."
What? Whoa. Time out. So he was asked, why didn't you test that hair? Because it's been revealed that there was hair in Abby's hand. He's like, we just assumed. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, listen to that, folks. You got DNA, possibly the killer's DNA in Abby's hand. And Mr. Holman, this guy right here, says, oh, yeah, we're just assuming it's a family member, not the killer's. What?
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's like crazy. Because at that time, it's an unsolved crime by all, you get every and any evidence whatsoever that's on the victims, from scratches to hair to whatever. And, we're just going to assume it's, a family member of Abby's. Not the killers, right? They're found, with sticks on them in the woods there. And, a horrendous crime. And, a piece of hair. Just a piece of hair. We're not going to evaluate it whatsoever. Because we know it's a family member's.
Yeah, they just assumed it was a female family member's hair, and they didn't even bother.
I might have lost the words of that. And not only that, Magnolia, but it's like testing years later where it's revealed, right? Just recently, correct?
Yeah, and for some reason, this information just surfaced like a couple weeks ago about the hair. And the first time any of us ever heard of it was during the defense opening statement.
Yes.
I think they're the ones I think that mentioned it for the first time, and everyone was like, "What? She had hairs in her hand? What are you talking about?"
That's big. I mean,
just
think about that. That's
imagine,
as big as it could be.
Yeah. Well, just imagine this. Remember the Alec Baldwin trial? Imagine if we had the judge from that trial. This case would have been thrown out forever ago, I think. Because in the Alec Baldwin case, she threw out the entire case because there was a batch of random bullets,
folks,
that were not entered into evidence. Bullets that didn't even have anything to do with the crime scene, by the way.
Bullets.
They were random bullets that were not put into evidence, and therefore the entire case got thrown out.
Hello, Richard Allen's attorneys. Did you watch the Alec Baldwin trial? Maybe you should emulate the playbook there with the defense getting the case dismissed because of the bullet chain of command. And just what was happening with the Baldwin bullets? The chain of command, what exactly happened there for her to toss it? Because of the bullets.
Well, it was just the simple fact that the bullets were not put into evidence. They were marked with a different case number, and so they were separate from the main case evidence, and therefore were not turned over in discovery. So, and the prosecutor in that case said that they had looked at the bullets, and they were not the same type of bullets that were involved in this crime, so they didn't add them as evidence, and that wasn't a good enough explanation, and the whole case got thrown out.
Maybe the defense will do something in reference to these bullets because, having that bullet expert, she didn't reveal nothing that indicates it was Richard Allen's bullet. The way I'm taking it, I'm reading it all over. I'm reading from journalists, I'm reading from YouTubers, I'm reading from podcasters that are in that courtroom, and none of them are saying anything like, hey, it's 100% Richard Allen's bullet that was by the victim's body.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah, it's really unbelievable. You have all the problems. I mean, it would take forever to list all the problems, but I think the main problems here are the crime scene itself. We're talking about hair that was not tested. We're talking about the sticks covering their bodies that had blood on them, by the way, were left in the woods. They were not tested for anything. What else? None of these witnesses were able to ID him in court. The bullet science is subjective. They spent a whole day just to come to that conclusion. What else? They didn't even photograph the bullet at the crime scene.
You got half
That's
interrogation.
That's like so crazy to me.
You have half interrogation tapes missing.
And you have all the original suspect interviews missing.
Woo! Wow. Again, I'm not saying Richard Allen is innocent, but man, what a botched Delphi disaster thus far.
Yep.
And even if they fab something at this point, just everything to this point has just been a complete disaster. It's literally this is the railroad tracks here. The train has derailed. The prosecution train has derailed on this case.
Yeah, I mean,
and I'm getting more and more convinced each day.
Well, I don't know, when the trial was coming, we were leading up to trial. I don't know really what I expected. I did expect that some of these issues would come up in court, but I guess for some reason in the back of my mind, I just always thought that the prosecution must have more evidence that we don't know about. I just always thought that, and I thought, well, maybe once we go to trial, they're going to reveal something that we don't know, that they've kind of kept.
They laid a goose egg on that opening statement.
But so far, that it hasn't happened that way, and it's really, really disappointing that we've come this far. And I think the prosecution's case, it's got to be more than 3/4 of the way done at this point. Their witness list was like 40 or 50, and I think they're up to somewhere between 25 and 30 that they've had come on the stand. But yeah, it's just been like one after another that have come up onto the stand. The defense seems like they've been able to dismantle each and every one with not that much effort, honestly, because they kind of impeached themselves in a way, you know. The hostile eyewitness, Sarah Carbaugh, this other witness, Betsy Blair, saying she saw a young, beautiful boy with puffy hair.
This kind of reminds me of the 16-0 New England Patriots playing the 0-16 Tampa Bay Bucks in a game, and the heavily favored Patriots is just boo. They're not doing anything, and the 0-16 Bucks are like winning.
Yeah.
That's what it's. No, I'm serious, folks, and this is not a game. This is not a game. This is people's lives. But it's just like a performance. A performance that the prosecution has not performed at this point. Nothing. 13-minute opening statement, folks. And it was nothing of nothing. Like Magnolia said, we expected some information or some things to be revealed. They always say in these cases, we're not gonna share nothing to the trial to protect the integrity of the investigation. And they haven't said nothing. Nothing. That we didn't already know. Like nothing new that says, hey, Richard Allen is the guy.
Yeah. Well, I know. It's like, I expected a lot more. I really did. Because you know, a lot of these issues we've been talking about these issues for a really long time, way before the trial ever started. I mean, all of the stuff we've known about, and it's like, what was the point of the gag order? Because I don't know, for some reason I was under the impression, you know, the gag order was keeping secret certain incriminating evidence, and once we got to trial, we would all understand and everything would be revealed, and Richard Allen would be convicted, and but it just has been so far from that. It's really, really unbelievable.
So what happened, and what else is happening at this point?
Well, I think that concluded today with Holman on the stand. And like I said, I think they left. I saw one reporter said that they actually adjourned today at 11:30. So he was the one and only witness that came up today. Yeah.
Well, Magnolia, somebody responded, said, Magnolia, the trial is just getting started. No, it isn't just getting started. It's already been started. And it's literally, the prosecution is almost done. Their witnesses, they're literally almost done, unless they bring in more. At least unless they consult with each other and realize this is not going as planned. We need to regroup here and figure this out quickly.
Yeah, we're well past the halfway point for the prosecution by now. So the next evidence is going to be the confessions. So I think next week will be probably all about the confessions. They're saying that there's in the neighborhood of 60 confessions. We know about maybe 4 or 5 of them so far.
Imagine if the confessions,
different things that he said that weren't true, or he made up things or whatever, but we don't know the whole extent of it yet.
Imagine if the confessions end up being like what somehow convinces the jury that he did it. Maybe McClellan saying only the killer would know. Imagine these confessions are the ones with everything else, but the jury's more, convinced off the confessions. Because the jury's going to come out eventually if there's a conviction, and somebody's going to come out and explain what got them to realize, or what got them to convict. If they convict, I'm jumping the gun here, but if they convict them, or what got them to convict, and I'm sure some will say, well, it was this, it was that, it was that, it was that. Imagine the confessions, because then Indiana is like, okay, well, maybe if there's other cases, that we're not so sure, we'll just put this defendant in solitary confinement and maximum security, and squeeze out confessions from jailhouse informants out of them, or put them in such dire situations that they just flat out say, I did it, because they can't take the torture anymore.
Yeah.
It's almost like a form of waterboarding. Crystal, thank you for the gifted membership. One person got a gifted membership. Nice. We appreciate all the members on JLR Investigates. Your membership help us get to these locations and cover these cases. Boots on the ground. JLR Batcave. We got to get a Magnolia up there. We got to get Magnolia up there. Magnolia and JLR Investigates. We got to cut up a new logo, Magnolia.
Oh, boy. Yeah. Someone else.
Oh, 5 more. Crystal did 5 more. 5 more lucky people.
Yes.
5 more lucky people are now members of JLR Investigates. Magnolia, we're already talking about... Huh?
I said thank you, Crystal.
Yes, thank you, Crystal. We're already talking about possibly going back up there. I'm already plotting and planning. Okay, so let me ask you something, Magnolia. Okay, so if the prosecution, goes through and maybe next week rests, I feel by the end of next week they're done. I just feel it. I feel like the prosecution is done by end of next week. Now, say they do, and maybe you get something out of these confessions, maybe not. Do you think the defense at that point should bring up all the witnesses that they say, or kind of wean it down a little bit, feeling like the prosecution doesn't have a case?
Yeah, I think they'll probably strategize based on everything that the prosecution puts out, and they'll probably pick the witness, because their witness list is like 140. It's really long. So I think they'll probably call the witnesses that they feel are best to counteract whatever the prosecution has put out. But, I think the prosecution hopefully will be done by the end of next week, because that would be 2 full weeks done in the trial, and at some point we have to get to the defense's case. So,
Crystal just 5 more memberships. Crystal, 5 more memberships she distributed out. That's 11 memberships Crystal put out. 11 new members of JLR Investigates this evening. Yeah. Welcome aboard. Welcome aboard. Yeah, so...
Yeah, Karen Lee put out a tweet. Actually, she replied to my tweet, and she put out a good tweet. She said, "It's becoming more evident to me that law enforcement decided Richard Allen was the best fit for the murders. And he checked some of the boxes, and they manipulated to check the rest of the boxes." That does kind of seem like what happened, that he resembled Bridge Guy, and he said he was on the bridge that day, and they probably did think he might be our best bet. But I think it's weird that they had talked to him back in 2017, and the detective who testified about that interview, Dolan, he testified that nothing stood out to him whatsoever about Richard Allen, that nothing he said was unusual, and he marked it as cleared. And then he said he never thought about Richard Allen again until September 2022.
But, I mean, some people in the chat are like, Allen is Bridge Guy. But say he is Bridge Guy. What does that mean? Because
he said he was on the bridge.
Said he was on the bridge. What does that mean? How does Bridge Guy go from, where did the prosecution say that Bridge Guy's the killer? Based off a grainy audio tape that says down the hill? That's really it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so wild. I mean, this case here, I would have thought the prosecution would have had much more probable cause to bring this forward. Maybe they should have sat back a little bit and before they went this, because imagine if Richard Allen walks. I mean, what type of legal recourse does he have if he walks from this?
Yeah.
I mean, pretty much he's going to bankrupt. Delphi will be bankrupt.
Yeah. Show the picture that I just sent you. It's a side-by-side of Richard Allen before his arrest and Richard Allen at the time he made the confessions, 6 months after his arrest.
Yeah, look at his arms. Significant weight loss here. We got a skinnier guy on the left. This is about 6 months into solitary, and I'm telling you, solitary confinement will make people lose weight. Lots of weight. Unless, somehow... Crystal, 5 more memberships! Oh, my goodness! Crystal's laying out the memberships. That's 16 memberships that Crystal put out today. Cluminati, nice to see you in the chat. See some of the familiar faces coming through.
Hey, Clue.
Georgie 1, Denise. Hello, everyone. Mouthy Mama, thank you for the retweets all the time, Mouthy Mama. AK Mom, Sandy. I see a lot of the familiar JLR Army. Lucid, thank you. I love the emojis, the JLR emojis. We got to interact with some of you very more often, whatever. But 24 Baby Bull. See a lot of you guys in the chat. But yeah, Richard Allen lost a lot of weight.
Max joined as a member.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, Magnolia is getting these key details. Again, Magnolia, emphasize. You're not saying that Richard Allen's guilty or innocent. You just don't know, right?
No, I have no idea if he did this or not. If I had to bet money, I would say no.
You would?
Simply based on who he is as a person. He's never been in trouble with the law. He's a 10 or 11 year veteran, upstanding veteran. He has a admirable service record. He lives a quiet life with his wife and his daughter. He works at CVS. He's never done anything like this before. And I personally, the interrogation, I personally don't think that he lied in that interrogation when he denied his involvement. I don't think he was lying.
Well, I'm the yang to your yin, Magnolia, and if you could ask me, I would say he did it. I would say because you want to have faith and confidence in the judicial system, knowing that they got the guy. I don't want to think that law enforcement frames people and just to, solve a case and just pin someone for the most egregious thing ever. His behavior thus far of not speaking out and not demanding his innocence and his wife not speaking out speaks volumes to me.
But you keep saying his wife didn't speak out, but she did.
Well, I'm talking about yelling from the rooftops every day.
And she did speak out right before the trial that she believes in his innocence. So she has spoken out. He spoke out as much as he could in his interrogation video. He said 100 times he didn't do it. It couldn't possibly have been my bullet. It couldn't possibly, he was very adamant. He flat out denied everything. He said, no, that's not possible. No, that's not my bullet. That's not possible. I did not have my gun with me that day. It's not possible. Very clearly, he denied it. And I was talking to you about this in the car earlier, and I made a post about this 6 months ago when I first saw these excerpts from the transcript. One of the things that I had to do at my job at Project Veritas early on, we had to go through training to detect lies. So that means, when you're talking to someone, and the reason we went through the training as undercover journalists was because if we're having a meeting with a certain subject and they tell us something, we have to be able to gauge if they're telling the truth or not.
Which is what?
So we can know what type of avenue to go down or whatever it is. So we went through this training. I personally was interrogated by an ex-CIA officer who wrote a book about lie detection called Spy the Lie. And that book was part of our training. I had to do a presentation on it. So I've had a lot of training in this area of lie detection. And I thought it was funny. I forgot to mention this earlier. Holman was asked on the stand, he was asked on the stand if he said he was, during his interrogation with Richard Allen, he said that he was looking for signs of deception. And the defense attorney was like, what type of signs is that? And he was like, oh, looking down when he's talking, or looking, what different body language, whatever. And he's like, he asked him about his training in that area, and he's like, oh yeah, I took training. I don't remember when it was whatever,
Holman taking lie detection training.
He pretty much was just like, yeah, I don't remember when I was trained, and I can't really give you any specifics on that, but I was looking for deception, and I noticed, he's like, I noticed a few possible signs of deception, but they were very subtle. That's what he said today. And so then the defense attorney came back and was like, well, something, when you were talking today, you kept looking down a lot.
Oh, you kept looking down, Holman. When you were looking down at the stand, you kept looking down. Does that mean you're a liar, Mr. Holman?
Right, yeah. So that's pretty common. But, yeah, so what I was explaining, though, about this specific case with this specific interrogation, when you're talking to someone or you're confronting someone with a lie, something that you think they lied about, like Richard Allen, I think you killed those girls. Someone who's lying or trying to be deceptive, instead of just saying, no, I didn't, a person who's lying will say something like, I can't believe you think I would do something like that. Look at my military record. I'm an exemplary citizen. I'm offended that you would even think I would do something like that. That's that's the type of response someone gives when they're trying to be deceptive. Or they could try to change the subject or kind of gloss over things maybe. But their answer is never just a simple no. It's always like some kind of explanation. Or they could even go so far as to make themselves the victim. Like, that's so hurtful.
How
I can't
dare you
believe
say that
you would
about me?
accuse me. That's very hurtful. And you're hurting me. And you know, they'll do things like that. Richard Allen did none of that in his interview with Holman. He said repeatedly, no, it's not me. It's not possible that's my gun. I didn't even have my gun that day. It's not possible. If that bullet was there, I don't know how it got there. I can explain it. And he said, at one point he said, I'm not going to tell you I did something that I did not do. You can do anything you want to me, and I will never tell you that I did something I didn't do. And he just kept over and over and over. And Holman testified today 20 or 25 times. He said, no, it wasn't me. So typically, you know, that's a person who is actually telling the truth. You know, if you ask me, did I steal the cookies from the cookie jar? And I say no, I'm probably telling the truth. But if I say, why would you ask me that? Why would you think I did that? What about this person over there? I think they did it. I think they took those cookies from the cookie jar. That's what a liar does. You know, they try to like obfuscate everything and muddy the waters type of thing. And so anyway, that particular interrogation, the parts that I've seen, I felt like he was being truthful. So it doesn't mean he was being truthful. That's just my perception based on my own training of that. Now, I haven't seen the video to see his body language, his facial expressions. I guess we probably never will see that video since it's going to be in a dark courtroom where no evidence is being shown to the public. So we really just have to go off the transcript that we know about. And I've seen a good portion of the transcript just because the defense included it in that one motion in the spring. So they're going to keep going more into that next week, though, and the courtroom will hear it.
Magnolia, I took the cookies.
You did?
I took the cookies.
You're the cookie monster.
I'm the cookie monster. I took the cookies. So basically, if you want to be a professional liar, the very best thing you could just say is, no, didn't do it. Nope, didn't do it. Don't give any explanation. Just say, I didn't do it. Nope. If you did it.
Well, yeah, because if you're being accused of something that you didn't do,
I want a lawyer.
A reasonable reaction to that, no matter what the situation, whether you're talking to a cop, whether you're talking to your wife, your husband, your kids, when an innocent person is accused of something, it's alarming. It's like, whoa, what? No, I didn't do that. That's normally how someone would react. And he wasn't that way. There's another little detail I wanted to point out. I don't think it was yesterday. It was maybe the day before. There was testimony from Mullins or Doolin, one of those detectives. They said that Richard Allen had made a comment along the lines of, it's over. Remember that?
I know.
When they said, it was a couple days ago, it was testified that Richard Allen said, it doesn't matter, it's over. He made that statement on October 13th.
Interesting.
And a lot of the media, I noticed, the ones who reported this, some of the media reported it thinking that it was some type of admission or something along those lines. But that was actually brought up again today in court with Holman. And Holman had asked Richard Allen about that comment when he said it doesn't matter, it's over. And Allen said what he meant by that was the damage was already done to his reputation. They had already talked to his neighbors, his coworkers. Ooh. They were doing a search warrant. And so in his mind, he said you've already ruined my life. It's over. And that's what he meant by that. The damage is done. You've ruined my life. So we got a little more clarification on that today too.
Is his life over? That would be interesting to see. His reputation is definitely ruined from this, and is it rightfully so or not? That's the question. Is he guilty or is he not guilty? We still don't know, folks. We don't know. You can't sit here and say Richard Allen's innocent, and you can't sit here and say Richard Allen's guilty. We just don't know. We weren't there.
Yeah, we don't.
We don't know. I don't know if I regret saying the things I said to Richard Allen. It's kind of like gaslighting him to provoke a response.
Yeah.
Remember that? Remember that out there? Richard Allen, you child killer. Why did you do it? You're going to prison.
Well, you're permanently attached to this case because of that.
Really? Yeah, they took my voice and put it over all these like court TV reports and everything like that, right?
Yeah. Every single Delphi special has that in their opener.
You want to think when people do the most egregious thing to children that they got the right person, right?
Yeah,
and your emotions go a little bit like, you're a monster, you're a horrible, you know what I mean? Like, yo, you're trying to protect the children here.
Yeah. Well, it's just really frustrating because, like I said, I really hoped. I've known all the problems in this case for a very long time, and I know that a lot of the defense has lost a lot of their motions, a lot of the things that they asked for. There's a ton of things that have been suppressed. But I still had hope. I still thought when we got to trial, we were going to see the smoking gun or something would be revealed and I would be like, oh, okay, so they did get the right guy. That's what I was hoping. And it's like now I'm just feeling really frustrated every single day now because every time you think, well, maybe today's the day, and it just never is. Everything they present just keeps falling apart as soon as they present it.
Magnolia.
It's just really frustrating.
Excuse me. Crystal donated 5 more additional memberships. That's 21 memberships. Nice. We appreciate that, Crystal. Thank you very much. Very, very grateful. 21 new members of JLR Investigates today. What a celebration, right? We get a plaque. We get this plaque. Tell us about this plaque, Magnolia. We didn't even really know how to get it, right? We just realized, hey, where's the plaque?
Well, you have to apply for it, and there's like a process that it goes through. So we finally got it. They notified us a couple weeks ago that we were getting it, and it just came in the mail. So it's pretty exciting. I hate that the next one is not till $1 million, though.
Yeah, $1 million.
That's a really huge span of time. The only awards they have is for 100,000, and then there's I think a gold one when you hit $1 million, and then there's like I think the top one is called Diamond, and it's for 10 million. 10 million. Now, well, we'd be here. We'll be having gray all over our faces by the 10 million. Who knows? You never know. You never know. We just work, and it's not about the reward. We are grateful about that plaque. Not a reward, a plaque. We're very grateful for the plaque, and it's an incentive to keep pushing and grinding, and YouTube has been a blessing. YouTube, I enjoy putting content out on YouTube. We like getting around and showing people things in real time, off the cuff, in that moment, gonzo journalism, boots on the ground, seeing what's going on, my own personality in the mix, your personality in the mix, and we just want to get the information out there too, and our take on situations. We might not be correct, but we give our takes, and when we see things, we share how we feel about situations, mixed in with facts and opinion. Yeah, I think Mouthy Mama said it best here in the chat. She said, "My heart breaks for the families. They have had to wait so long to get justice for those kids." That to me is kind of the bottom line here. I just cannot imagine what it's like for them. And I'm very scared that this is not going to end in a conviction, and they're going to be pretty much back to square one if that happens. And I can't even imagine that. I can't. It's been so long, 7.5 years, going on 8 years. We've had this arrest and this case against Richard Allen for 2 full years now. By the way, today is the 2-year anniversary of that interrogation that we've been talking about today. It was 2 years ago today.
The 26th, it was on the 26th?
Yeah. So, this has been going on for so long. And your hope is that when you get to court, the prosecution is going to be able to prove their case and get a conviction and justice so that you can hopefully have some type of closure. And that's the saddest part of this, because it feels like every day we're getting further away from that. That's what it feels like.
Crystal did 26 memberships, so I said 21 earlier. It's actually 26 new members. Thank you, Crystal, for that. I just saw your comment. 5 additional ones. I didn't see. I was reading across the board, seeing a bunch of members. Yeah, it's, 2 years, folks. I'm just thinking, should the state of instead of McClellan, should have brought in a special prosecutor to maybe been more experienced? Is this too much for McClellan to handle? Like, is he starting to crack under pressure on McClellan's handling of this case, and McClellan, the way he's presenting this to, because, our take, based off everyone that we're hearing that's in there, and McClellan ain't doing a good job. That's the way I'm hearing it. Do you agree, Magnolia?
Yeah, it's difficult.
Thank you, Leah.
It just feels like, maybe he's in over his head. I'm not sure, but actually the whole case feels that way. The whole case, I think, suffers from the fact that this is a very small town, and they're not used to these things. However, you can't really make that too big of an excuse, because they did have the FBI involved very, very early on.
And
there was
ISP.
An FBI task force on this.
ISP.
Yeah.
State
so
police.
they have had resources, but the FBI task force, that was the one that was looking into Brad Holder and all them. Greg Ferenczi was one of the detectives on the FBI task force that was murdered in 2021, and effectively that ended the investigation into those original suspects. So they definitely had talent, they had all the resources, they had the FBI, the ISP, like you said. So it seems like they could have been able to do a better job here, but I think that they got off on the wrong foot day one at the crime scene itself. Not testing the hair that's in someone's hand, a victim's hand, not taking those branches into evidence, just a lot of different problems. Not photographing the bullet, to me, is just absolutely insane. And I'll never get over that. Because they can't prove that bullet was even there at the time. They say that they found the bullet after they removed the victims' bodies, but they didn't photograph it. They didn't photograph taking it out of the ground or anything like that. So the bullet itself really has almost like no chain of custody. So it's, even if it was his bullet, even if they could prove conclusively that it was his bullet, which they can't, it wasn't photographed. And I think it's crazy that all these interviews are missing. All this crucial information is just not there for unknown reasons. And this case has just been allowed to continue.
Richie Rich says, boots on the ground, you should trademark. Interesting. But here's the thing, Magnolia. Bridge guy. If Holder, Logan, Elvis Fields, the other guy, who's the third guy? Elvis Field, Holder, and who's the other one?
Patrick Westfall.
Westfall. If none of them are bridge guy, or all of them have concrete, solid alibis, and they weren't there, and they can have people corroborate, digital evidence, whatever, then who in the world is bridge guy? People are going to say it's him.
But Brad Holder does not have an ironclad alibi. That's a misconception. A lot of people say that it can't be Brad Holder because he had an alibi. He said he was at work until 2:45 p.m. that day. He said that he clocked out at 2:45 p.m. that day. But the rest of the story is that law enforcement never actually followed up that closely on his alibi. The defense, that came out in another motion from the defense. That was actually, I think, in the Frank's motion. They went into great detail about Brad Holder and his alibi. And they pointed out that the investigators never spoke to his coworkers to corroborate. They don't know if he clocked out himself or if he had someone else clock out for him. They apparently never looked at any type of video to see if his car came and went. So his alibi was never like ironclad. The way there's a perception out there among people, some people who've been following this case, they have a perception that his alibi was rock solid, but it wasn't. So, and if it was, here's the thing. If his alibi was so rock solid, then why did he remain a suspect for years?
True.
I mean, come on.
That's
true. You think Todd Click and Greg Ferenczi are going to waste all their time investigating someone for years?
True.
If they have a rock solid, I don't think so. I think they would have probably ruled him out pretty quickly and moved on. But that's not what happened. They spent years investigating that trio and their crew. So, it's just all that information is suppressed. The videos are missing. The interviews, we don't know, they're missing. They never took phone data off of Brad Holder's phone. They glanced at Logan Holder's phone when he was in the police station for his interview, but they didn't take any of the data or anything. So, yeah, a lot of stuff's missing. That investigation ended under very dubious circumstances, and those investigators are the ones who spoke out last year. They're the ones who came to the defense with these letters explaining the original investigation and their concerns with those suspects being dropped. And they said when Richard Allen was arrested, they were stunned. Completely stunned, because they had been investigating other people.
And he's been cleared. He was cleared, right? Mark, cleared.
Yeah.
On to the next one. Cleared. Check. Allen's been cleared. Next person. But suddenly a cleared person, folks, a cleared person that's been cleared 5 years later, just a volunteer. Let me go in the case files. Oh, Richard Allen. Hey, like it. Look, he was there. And then a month later, you're under arrest. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say will go against you in the court of law. I didn't do it. You did it, Allen. You did it. And I'm going to prove it.
Yep.
And then
that's what he said.
Safekeeping order, folks. The safekeeping order. Let's take him away into the gallows in the dungeon. Allen, you're going into solitary confinement deep inside a maximum security prison. I didn't do it. 6 months later, everyone's in the jail cell yelling at him. Allen, you molester. You kitty. You know what I mean? Banging on his doors, yelling at the fans. Come out, little fishy. Can't wait to get their hands. And then suddenly, confession. Psych says he lost his mind. It seems like that's the chain of events here.
I'm really starting to wonder, though, about these confessions now. Because, for one thing, I think if he really did confess to things that only the killer would know, or if it's like a very specific confession, don't you think that would have been part of the opening statement?
I would, again, we've discussed this.
Wouldn't you
I would think
read
some of the
quotes?
words he used in these confessions would be McClellan would echo.
Right. Wouldn't he quote
Yes.
the confessions?
Yes,
Or
I
even,
would if I was a
even
prosecutor.
play a tape
Absolutely.
or something like that?
I would, whatever, like, I did it. I killed Libby and Abby. Those are his words, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, and that is his words that came out of his mouth, the defendant's mouth, right there. That's exactly what he said, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you know?
Yeah.
I
That's what
killed
I'm
Libby
saying.
and Abby.
I feel like if these confessions are such a bombshell, why don't we know anything specific about them yet? Why is it a
Well,
secret?
maybe McClellan's like,
I don't
I'm going to
get that.
save the best to last. I'm going to say, you know, I'm going to make sure the last damaging stuff is in the minds of the jurors.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know their
Maybe.
strategy. I'm not a prosecutor. I'm not a defense attorney either. I'm neither or. You know, we watch these cases, but every case is like snowflake. It's different.
Well, go look at the Sarah Boone trial. The prosecution, when they did their opening statement, you better believe they played that video.
Mm-hmm.
They sure did.
Mm-hmm.
They sure did. Because that was their biggest smoking gun. That was their evidence. And they opened with a bang. So why didn't Nick McClellan do that if these confessions are so damning? But you made a good point yesterday when you said that we're talking 6 months into his incarceration. After he's had attorneys for 6 months, they would have had, by that point,
something.
Richard Allen and his attorneys would have necessarily known things
Details.
only the killer would know
Details.
by that point, right? Because they would have already had the crime scene photos by then. They would have had certain other evidence by then.
Though they testified that they were having trouble getting access to him. Right? Like when they first got assigned to him, and for a while they said they had to travel long distances to reach him, and then we're having trouble getting access. And obviously these recorded, attorney-client privileged visits was being recorded. He was being let out in a leash in a room, monitored, and everything like that. Their access to him was very limited. They said they were struggling to get to him.
Yeah.
Until Fran Gull finally gave him some relief on that aspect.
Yeah, they had issues with meeting with him, and also the distance involved because he was at Westville, and that was one issue, was the travel time going to and from. The fact they had to meet with him with cameras on them all the time with no privacy. But yeah, I think by April 2023, which is when these confessions happened, by that point, Richard and his defense team would have known what the killer knew. So it's not that impressive, actually, when you think about it. When Nick says, oh, he confessed to things only the killer would know, it's not that impressive when you look at it through that lens. Like, well, he probably already saw the crime scene photos at that point.
It would have been impressive if McClellan said that, and that was something at his interrogation with the police at the beginning stages before he was arrested. Or at the time of being arrested, knowing details that only the killer would know. That would be the nail in his coffin.
Well, and if that were the case, we wouldn't be here right now. He would have had a very quick trial. He may have done a plea deal, or if you're confessing early on, you're basically saying I'm guilty. You're pleading guilty, and so the proceedings would have wrapped up pretty quickly if that was the case. But we're talking about 6 months later. You showed the picture of what he looked like at that time. He looks like a complete mental case. No offense, Richard Allen, but you look like a mental case in that picture. And so, we'll just have to see what these confessions actually hold.
Yeah, that's the next. But the next step is that the interrogation. So I want to the Holman interrogation. So that's going to be interesting. Get your popcorn ready, folks. Get your snack, your favorite beverage. We are covering the Richard Allen Delphi murder case, and we'll be back on if something breaks on that about this. What's next? Nevertheless, we're on every day giving you a recap of what transpired based off the people in the courtroom putting it out, and then giving our take on it. Anything else to add, Magnolia?
Yeah, I think I'll just say a couple people that I think are doing a really good job. Bob Siegel from WTHR, Bob Mata from Defense Diaries, Andrew Burkhart is putting out really good updates. Max Lewis from, I think he's with Fox 59 maybe. All of those journalists are doing their absolute best, and they're doing really good with putting out all these updates every day. I think they're kind of pooling their efforts. I think that a lot of the journalists, they're kind of pulling together their notes, and they've kind of come up with a system there to be able to get these updates out. So we appreciate the hard work they've been doing.
I saw I'll add a couple other names. I don't know these individuals, but I see them posting stuff. Another one, Lawyer Lee, I believe, is someone there that's giving updates. And another one named Hidden True Crime, I believe, is there giving updates. So there's others out there that are giving updates, continuously on this case. There was another one, I think his name was Rafael Sanchez or something like that, or another gentleman there.
Oh, yeah.
That's out there, that's in there, and the Barbara McDonald is there, boots on the ground. She's there. So there's quite a few people there, and everyone has a different take. But yeah, those people are braving the elements, braving the line, getting in there. They're invested. I mean, the people that are there are invested in this, right? They want to just get out the information and see for themselves. A trial that is ripe with all types of controversy, we'll say.
Yeah, Bob Mata is doing a great job. They said he's acting out his courtroom notes. Yeah, Bob, I watched a little bit of Defense Diaries earlier, and his telling of the Holman testimony was very entertaining. He's a good storyteller. He's definitely a good storyteller.
Bird's Eye Video, nice to see you. Check your other super chat question. I didn't see the question, so let's see. Bird's Eye, did Bird's Eye put another question in the chat? Can you see it?
Oh, I think was it about the merch store? Because I responded on there. I don't know if you saw my response. I think that was the question. Yeah, we'll have to check. I'll look at that and see if you can email the issue you were having, tips@jlrinvestigates.com, and I'll check that out.
Yeah, tips@JLR Investigates, or anyone else that wants to send us anything on any case or just wants to give a comment, suggestion. We read all our emails. When we're not covering cases, we sit back and we read our emails as they come through. But we are, there was a couple other criminal trials that came to the conclusion. 2 trials yesterday, Leilani Simon, Sarah Boone. Now this is the one that's on trial. This is the last one left out of those 3 that really started out the same time. They all started out the same time. I was shocked the other 2 went pretty quick, right?
Yeah, I think the other 2 were not a surprise. We expected convictions in both of those, especially with Leilani Simon. She was convicted on like 16 charges. She had not just the murder charges and things like that, but she also had a lot of charges they tacked on for lying to the police and different things. So she was convicted on all charges. Sarah Boone was a slam dunk. She was always going to be convicted. It was just a matter of if she got second degree or manslaughter, and now we just wait to see what her sentence will be. Richard Allen is the big question mark, though.
I'm waiting to see what happens to Barry Morphew. I want to wait and see, because I have a feeling that he's going to get some cuffs soon, and he'll go through the process. So Kohlberger's coming up. I think Kohlberger will be the big one next year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Brian Kohlberger. Barry. Crystal Rogers case is an interesting case, looking at that. But is there any other cases that are going on, or anyone in the I'm kind of interested in the grandma, Michelle Chidester, from Michigan, the one that plowed her car drunk into a party full of children. Interesting to know what happens with that aspect. We're looking at that. I don't know when she'll go on trial on that. There's not much stuff out on that case right now, right? that I know of.
Yeah, there's another case that came out this week that I'm paying attention to. It's the case out of Canada, or it was Nova Scotia. At the Walmart, there was a 19-year-old worker who was found baked to death in the walk-in oven at the Walmart there. And she worked there. She's 19 years old. She worked there. Her mom also worked there. Her mom couldn't find her. They were both on shift, and her mom stopped hearing from her because normally they would check in with each other throughout their shift. Couldn't find her. They were looking for her, and her mother is the one who actually opened the oven and found her own daughter.
Yikes.
Which is horrifying.
Horrible. These
so
horrible details make your stomach cringe.
I'm paying attention to that case because it does not look like it was an accident. So waiting to get more information on that, but I kind of expect that that's going to be a murder case because I've seen some videos where people showed examples of the walk-in oven, and they showed that the door, you can't close the door unless you use like bodily force. Like you have to really shove the door shut to get it to latch. And then there's also a safety latch inside the door that someone could pull if they accidentally got stuck in there. So there's a lot of questions about how she ended up in there baking to death, basically, and why she couldn't have gotten out. So I think that one may turn into a murder investigation. So I'm watching that pretty close.
There's a few other trials. People said the Karen Reed retrial. That's probably going to be a big one next year, early next year. Adelson, Donna, the mother. People talked about Madeline Soto, though I think Stearns is going to take a plea. I'm pretty 99% confident that Stearns will not go to trial and that will be resolved. I don't see Stearns going to trial. I mean, he's toast on that one.
He's got two separate trials. So
I think the first one.
The child sex material trial is in February, and then the murder trial is supposed to be later in the year. But yeah, it seems like
that's getting resolved.
He should take a plea.
That's getting resolved. He has no defense whatsoever. I mean, if he could get capital punishment off the table and do life, which I feel like they would do, that case is going to get resolved. But we'll see, Florida man, Florida craziness, Florida things happen, Florida, Sarah Boone, Florida. I mean, she just blew an opportunity to get out in a few years. She messed up there. People saying the Menendez brothers, that's not a case anymore. That's pretty much just going in front of a judge and they get released and then they're out on the streets. Summer Wells is an unsolved case, still unsolved. There's no court case going on with that. Sebastian Rogers.
The Bridegan case in Jacksonville, someone mentioned. What was her name? Shauna, the wife who, remember the ambush killing?
My mind's blank on that one. Jacksonville Beach, or Jacksonville, Duval County. The one that was married to a Microsoft exec, or one of the tech execs, and had to get extradited.
The Microsoft guy. He's the Microsoft guy that
people are saying Shanna Gardner.
Shanna Gardner, that's her name. She's the one, and her, I think one of her boyfriends or something was also arrested. I don't know when that goes to trial.
Well, I actually went to her house. Remember I did a video at her house and went down the street where they got ambushed at that one-way street, a little one-way that goes down. I did a report there, but I didn't really follow the case like that, so I kind of just abandoned that case. Jose Baez is representing her.
Oh,
Casey
right.
Anthony's attorney.
Yeah, the Chad Dowerman case is over.
That's over.
He pleaded guilty.
So I just think probably next year the big cases probably would be Karen Reed and Brian Kohlberger. Next year. Those two will probably be the biggest criminal trials. And each one of those could resolve. Each one of them could resolve. You never know.
Yeah.
Nothing is guaranteed to the last second. Defendants plea out all the time.
Mm-hmm.
They know the stakes,
Yep.
and they know, we'll see what happens with Kohlberger. But the Kohlberger trial that you and I are already in discussions of, we want to go. I mean, we want to go because that was one of the big cases that we covered originally on this channel.
Yep.
We invested a lot of time there. You and I went up there multiple times. We know
Mm-hmm.
one of the victim's family members. We communicate regularly with. We follow the case extensively, the latest developments. We have a lot of sources on that case that tell us things. So I'm glad it's in Boise. I wanted it in Boise. I'm glad. So there's a there's probably a 99%, unless something else is going on at the time, a major catastrophe or something crazy. We plan to be there through the entirety on that one, which is means
Yeah, that'll be 3 months.
yeah, it's gonna be a long time. Means that you and I have to pack up OJ, and if we have a dog, and go on a road trip.
Yeah, it'll be August. When does it start? August. It's like August 7th to November or something. It's a really long.
That would probably be Airbnb for us. Probably Airbnb. Probably.
Yep.
Airbnb, because you got animals with you and things like that. So that would be a case that we have some ideas how we'll cover it, with the boots on the ground outside. Because I'm telling you, outside of the courthouse is just as interesting as inside the courthouse. Seeing it inside and live streaming, it's going to be on the feed, whatever. But it's also really good to see the atmosphere outside, who comes, who goes, who talks outside, who doesn't. Very, very interesting.
Yeah.
And, we'll see, if the state proves their case beyond a reasonable doubt, or will the state with Kohlberger have challenges like this case?
Oh, you know what's crazy? I just realized, because I'm answering someone's question. It's almost been 2 years since Moscow 4.
Yeah. Almost 2 years on that one, too. It went Richard Allen, then Moscow. Those were like bam, bam, like the end of the year. But Moscow was just a complete mystery. I mean, that was wild. Let me just tell you, it was just so wild being up there that first month of December. I went there a couple weeks after the crime happened, beginning of December, and it just was like, whoa. There was a killer on the loose, and really, everything was on the table at that point. Anybody and everybody. Even because the case in point. They came out pretty quick on that case and started clearing names. Cleared.
Yeah,
he was cleared. He was cleared by law enforcement, and look what happened. So just because you're cleared doesn't necessarily mean all the time you're actually cleared. He was cleared. According to what we're reading now, he was cleared. Cleared. Alan, you're cleared. Oh, not so fast.
Nothing unusual. Nothing stood out.
Clear. All right, folks.
Thank you, sir, for your help.
All right, that's enough, right? We're done?
Yeah.
Peace out, everyone. Thanks, Magnolia.
All right.
JLR investigates, Magnolia investigates. She does great work. Kudos to Magnolia for, with her analysis. Much better than mine on this case. I have a lot of questions, though, and I don't know. I kind of want to go back. I do want to go back. I do want to go back. And I'm not saying a guarantee we'll go back, but I want to go back. I want to see this, because this will be interesting. Particularly, if the prosecution's going on their trajectory, how they're going right now, it's almost like, whoa, you got to go back. You got to go back, because there's a very good chance this guy could get out. Or hung jury at least. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if we're getting a conviction. At this time, I can't see a conviction at this time, at the point. But remember, folks, people say in the chat, trial's not over. It's not over. Long way to go. We'll see. We'll continue to give updates on this case. We cover true crime 24/7, 365, reporting from the JLR Batcave. Come here, OJ. Come here. You want to say hi to OJ? Come on, we'll say hi to OJ. Hello. Hello. Hey, where'd you go? Where'd you go? Come say hi to me. Come say hi to me. Hey, where you going? Where you going? Where you going? She's hiding. Where you going? I see you. I see you. She's out there bird watching. All right, folks. Thanks for spending the time with me. JLR Magnolia investigates. We will talk soon. Have a great day. Blessed day. Happy Saturday, everyone. Be safe. Love your loved ones. Be safe, everyone. Stay vigilant. Have a good day.